Today we're going to be taking a look at whether Google enhances or diminishes our intelligence. My name is Brianna Bosket, and let's get into it. Before we take a look at whether Google is benefiting our intelligence, let's take a look at the impact that is having on us today. There are 8.5 billion Google searches made each day. Google processes approximately 99,000 searches per second. Approximately 4.97 billion people globally use Google. And 84% of Google users conduct at least 3 searches each day. Google also holds a dominant 90.01% share of the global search engine market. So as we can see, they have a big impact on how and what we search today. So Google obviously has a big impact on us, but the question we're going to be looking at is whether or not it is increasing our intelligence. To start, we're going to look at two opposing arguments and see what their reasonings are. The first one we're going to be looking at is Nicholas Carr's argument. The premises of his theory is that intelligence is our ability to think deeply about information, and that deep thinking only takes place when our minds are calm and focused. Also, when we are constantly using our phones and computers, we are always distracted. So therefore, using our phones and computers constantly makes us unintelligent. It's interesting in his argument that he thinks intelligence is the definition, is the ability to think deeply about the information. And so as we're constantly Googling things on our phones and laptops, that's constantly distracting us and impeding us from being able to think deeply, which hinders us from becoming more intelligent. Next, let's look at Peter Norvig's argument. He defines intelligence a bit differently. He says that intelligence consists of having easy access to information. The next premise is that the internet is home of the best and most valuable information. And Google gives us instant access to the information on the internet. Therefore, Google makes us more intelligent. So we can see the definition is switched here, which allows the argument to be switched in supporting that Google actually does make us more intelligent. After considering both of the previous arguments and doing research on the effects that Google has on our brains, I came up with my own conclusion. My premises are that the intelligence is the ability to retain information in our long-term memory. Constantly using Google results in our brains experiencing what people like to call the Google effect. The Google effect weakens our memory of facts by causing our brain to remember where we find the information rather than remembering the actual information itself. Therefore, my conclusion is that Google makes us less intelligent. Here we see a definition of what the Google effect is. It states that the Google effect refers to the idea that individuals rely on the internet as a source of knowledge rather than remembering it for themselves. So instead of remembering what the largest continent in the world is, I can just remember that I know that I can find that information on the internet. Dr. Betsy Sparrow with Columbia University did some research in this field of the effects that Google is having on our brains. She also conducted multiple experiments, one of which we'll take a look at now. In this experiment, Sparrow and her team gathered a group of people, and then they gave everyone a list of 40 different trivia facts that ranged in their simplicity. They were then told to type all of the trivia facts onto the computer. The only difference was that half of them were told that once they had typed it, it would be erased, and the other half were told that it would be saved to the computer. Once they had completed the task, the participants were asked to write down all of the trivia facts that they remembered. It ended up that the people that were told that they would be erased from the computer were able to remember significantly more than the people that were told that they would be saved. This shows us the Google effect in action, because the people that were told that it would be saved to the computer found no need to commit it to memory since they knew where they could find the information at a later time. In addition to the scientific experiments that support the idea that Google is making us less intelligent, I also have personal experience to back up the theory. I've experienced the ease of simply Googling something and skimming through the many sources that come up. I typically don't process the information long enough for it to settle and be committed to long-term memory. And in reality, there is no need to, because I know it will be there for me the next time I need to search it. I also miss the additional learning that I could be attaining if I were to read a book, leaving me to conclude that I would be more intelligent if it were not for Google. As with any argument, it is important to consider the argument of a possible critic. A critic might respond by stating that the ability to store information in our long-term memory is of little importance. If we indeed have a resource, Google, that can readily provide us with the information that we need at any given moment, the ability to store information in our long-term memory is no longer necessary. While this argument seems to give reason to trust Google and leave reliance on our memories in the past, that might not be quite a good idea. In the instant that something happens to Google and it is no longer available, or that it becomes unreliable, we would be in trouble. We would then not have the knowledge and intelligence we need previously stored in our long-term memory in order to function and carry out the tasks at hand. It would also be difficult to start committing information to our memory since we have for so long trained ourselves and trained our brains to just remember where we can find the information instead of remembering the information itself. In conclusion, we have looked at scientific and personal experience that shows that Google can make us less intelligent. We've also learned about the Google effect, which causes our brains to remember where we can find information rather than remembering the information itself. This leads to us not retaining as much information in our long-term memory, therefore making us less intelligent. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.